I am so excited to share this book with you today. It is one of the very best books we have in the South Hills Middle School Library. It's called Lockwood Company, The Screaming Staircase by Jonathon Stroud. The genre, it's kind of a mix of horror and some supernatural and mystery elements and also some humor, but it's not silly slapstick humor. It's more sarcasm, kind of dark, kind of witty, but very, very clever, very well written book. And there are 5 books in this series, and I hope that when you read this book, you will love it and you'll want to read the whole series, and that when you're done reading the series, you will want to join me in writing Jonathon Stroud and begging him to continue the series, because it's been a couple of years since he's added to it, and I really want to know what is happening next for Lockwood and Company. So let me take just a minute here and explain the background of the book. The setting is England. It's set in a similar time period as today, but kind of an alternate reality where ghosts have become a problem. And a ghost is so all of these supernatural beings that keep popping up unexplainedly all over England, if they touch you, it can hurt you or even kill you. So they have to find a way to get rid of them, and unfortunately, adults can't see or hear ghosts, so they basically enlist children and teenagers to do the dirty work of doing all of the fighting for them against these ghosts. And these psychic investigative agencies pop up all over England to combat this problem. And to get rid of a ghost, you have to find its source, and it could be its skeleton, it could be something that it was really attached to when it was alive, and if you destroy that, then the ghost is gone and everyone is safe again. So the Lockwood and Company is made up of only 3 agents, and their agency is unique because they're not overseen by any adults. It's just these 3 teenagers out in the middle of the night doing this dangerous work. It's a very suspenseful book. I have to warn you, do not read this series if you are prone to nightmares, or if your parents are going to get really mad at me because you're too scared to go to bed alone at night. I don't want to get angry phone calls, so if you have a really strong imagination, don't read this book. I have to confess that when I was in the middle of book 4, I started reading it after my kids went to bed at night, and I stayed up late finishing it. My husband hadn't gotten home yet, and I was too creeped out to get off the couch and go get ready for bed, because I thought, if I get off this couch, something is going to get me. So if you have a really great imagination and you're easily freaked out by things, do not read this book. For the rest of you, it's an amazing, amazing series. With that little caveat, I'm going to read you starting on page 9 in the book. When entering a house occupied by a visitor, it's always best to get in quick. That's one of the first rules you learn. Never hesitate, never linger on the threshold. Why? Because for those few seconds, it's not too late. You stand there in the doorway with the fresh air on your back and the darkness up ahead, and you'd be an idiot if you didn't want to turn and run. And as soon as you acknowledge that, your willpower starts draining away through your boots, and the terror starts building in your chest, and bang, that's it. You're compromised before you begin. Lockwood and I both knew this, so we didn't hang around. We slipped straight through, put down our bags, and shut the door softly behind us. Then we stood quite still with our backs against it, watching and listening side by side. The hall of the house lately occupied by Mr. and Mrs. Hope was long and relatively narrow, though the high ceiling made it seem quite large. The floor was tiled in black and white marble squares set diagonally, and the walls were palely papered. Halfway along, a steep staircase rose into the shadows. The hall kinked around this to the left and continued into a void of black. Doorways opened on either side, gaping and choked in darkness. all of which could have been nicely illuminated if we turned on the lights, of course. And there was a switch on the wall right there, but we didn't attempt to use it. You see, a second rule you learn is this: electricity interferes. It dulls the senses and makes you weak and stupid. It's much better to watch and listen in the dark. It's good to have that fear. We stood in silence, doing what we do. I listened. Lockwood watched. It was cold in the house. The air had that musty, slightly sour smell you get in every unloved place. As my eyes grew used to the dark, I saw more details. Beneath the curl of the banister was a little polished table on which sat a china bowl of potpourri. There were pictures on the walls, mostly faded posters of old-time musicals, and photographs of rolling hills and gentle seas. All pretty innocuous. In fact, it wasn't at all an ugly hallway. In bright sunlight, it might have looked quite pleasant, but not so much now, with the last light from the door panes stretching out like the skewed coffins on the floor in front of us, and with our shadows neatly framed inside them, and with the manner of old Mr. Hope's death in this very place hanging heavy on our minds. I breathed hard to calm myself and shut out morbid thoughts. Then I closed my eyes against the taunting darkness and listened. Listened. Halls, landings, and staircases are the arteries and airways of any building. It's here that everything is channeled. You get echoes of things currently going on in all the connecting rooms. Sometimes you also get other noises that, strictly speaking, ought not to be here at all. Echoes of the past. Echoes of hidden things. This was one such time. I opened my eyes, picked up my bag, and walked slowly down the hall toward the stairs. Lockwood was already standing by the little polished table beneath the banister. His face shone dimly in the light from the door. "Heard something?" he said. I hope that reading this little snippet of the book has piqued your curiosity. If you'd like to come check it out from the library, we've got the whole series, and if it's already checked out when you get here, which sometimes happens when I recommend books to a lot of people at the same time, we can put the book on hold for you and you can check it out as soon as you're next in line. Happy reading!